Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to make ring shanks. My process for doing that. In this case I'm going to be making something like this, a ring shank. And these ring shanks are TIG welded. They're copper all the way through. And I'm going to show you how to clean them, hammer them out from common wire, how to use a drill to twist them, and everything else. So I hope you enjoy this video. So this is my little thing. It allows me just to kind of chill out. It's on the floor. It's a 6x6. I got this like little zafu that you can kind of sit at, and allows me to work really close without having to kind of work any kind of muscle area in here. So it allows you to be comfortable when you're doing this. 6x6 with a big piece of metal attached to it, and then a small vise. Okay, how you have this set up doesn't really matter. I just kind of like this setup because it's really low to the ground. Alright, so where to get metal? Okay, there's one type of metal that I use a lot. 16 gauge copper wire. When you buy this stuff, make sure it's not coated. And how do you tell? Well, you're gonna have to buy some, and then you're gonna have to check it with a multimeter. Odds are it probably isn't coated, but if you're going to a craft place to get your wire, that's going to be coated. You got to go to like Ace Hardware or Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. Then you can get the wire that's not coated. And I've seen even coated wire at Lowe's, to be honest with you. So you got to be really careful when you buy this stuff. If it's not conductive, yeah, it will not work with electroforming. Cool. Now, another thing, it won't really matter too much because I'm going to be burning the crap out of this here in a second, so it will cook off any of the enamel. But make sure it's pure copper wire, it helps. Alright, so I'm just going to make a small one of these. And there's so many different variations of these you can make. But one of my favorites is a twisted one, because in the end, when you electroform it, it gives a really cool texture. You're gonna ask, whoa, can I see this texture? Right? Yes, you can. So you could kind of see that it has a really cool twisted band, plus it's electroformed at the same time. That's using 18 gauge wire. And here's one using 16 gauge wire. Cool. So, really quick, what you do is you take and double up the wire. Stick it in your vise. Just gonna adjust the camera ever so slightly so I can see the tip of this. There we go. Take a drill. So you see at the very end it's got a bigger loop, so I'm just going to kind of squish that together with pliers so it makes a really tight loop. Kind of like that. Take your drill. And counterclockwise or clockwise, it does not matter. got this wire. And now you just grab any old hammer. I like my 16 ounce for this. That's what you get. Cool. Let me show you a trick on heating this stuff, because right now it's too stiff to use. I'm also going to show you a different one, a different way to make these before we go to the heat process. So that's how you make like cool twisted wire that's flat for ring shanks. And I'll show you a different method here in a sec. Alright, so now you just have to go, if you want to make this next one, you just have to get one of these. This is for a Dremel. And what we're going to use this on is a hammer. So the hammer, all I did was I took the Dremel, trying to get this camera to focus, there we go. I took the Dremel and I made lots of scores on a cheap little Harbor Freight hammer. See that? And then you find a piece of metal and you just, take and pound away at it a little bit. And what that'll do, it'll soften it up. Because when you first do it, it's not going to be as soft as this. So you're going to have to hit a piece of metal for a while. Don't hit your anvil, because you don't want to mar up your anvil. You want to hit just a scrap piece of metal with it. Give it to your kids. They'll pound away at things all day long. Okay, next you're going to have to get some copper. So it doesn't matter what. You can get some really thick stuff or some thin stuff. It doesn't really matter. This comes in a whole different. This is grounding wire. I also do use a lot of coated wire, but I strip the coating off. Alright, so the name of the game is to get as much damage onto the copper as possible, because what will happen then, it will grow some really cool texture. Kind of see that. So that's caused by the damage of the copper, and then when you electroform over the damage, you get that. Cool. Alright. So this one's really easy. You just go to town. And you get damage that looks like that. And it's rough, but when you go to electroform over it, the electroform texture will tone that down quite a bit. Also, it's still rather thick, but this is for demonstration purposes only. That's how I make a lot of my ring shanks. Okay, let's go to the next process of heating it so we can wrap it. This one has been heated, but you notice I can bend it like that, where this one, it's too hard to bend, won't allow me to, so we have to heat the wire up. Alright, for this all you need is a pair of vice grips dangling from the ceiling. And a heavier pair of vice grips like these. Take the wire, clamp it, and you clamp the bigger vice grips on the bottom. And what that does is it causes this to have some tension in here. And it also keeps your hands free, so when you go to play with your torch, you don't have to worry about it bending over or burning anything. Nice and straight. And since the metal is nice and heated, it's soft now. So the brand torch, I can't see this, but propane tank. And this is model, if it, you type this in, 253 1611. I think it Benzomatic puts it out, but this is an amazing torch. It handles MAP gas and propane, but you can hook it up to a propane tank and never, like, really, I change that out probably 2 times a year, and I do a lot of production, so it does last a very long time. Cool. All right, next step. All right, for this next step, you just need a ring arbor. This ring arbor is made out of stainless steel, so you can get these on Amazon. I had a friend make me this, but you can get them. If you're going to use the method I'm showing you, you need stainless steel. They do come in aluminum. I would stay away from that because you are going to be marring the crap out of that. And what I do is I TIG weld my rings so they're really super strong. So stainless steel is the only thing I can find out that the copper won't stick to the stainless after you TIG weld it. Okay, I am short on size 8 rings on up. So I'm going to start at 6.5. Kind of get an understanding where that is on my arbor. And just wrap this around the arbor. Now if you're making a series of 8.5, go get yourself some sockets. They work really well for this. Sockets in millimeters, because they come in, it's a really finite, and it closely matches ring size, the outside diameter of most sockets. Highly suggest getting a pair of these though. These are much needed. Alright, see, and then I'll get size 7 all the way up to probably size 8 to 9 on this. And when I go to cut these, what I want to do is overlap. Let's see if I can. So these are flush clip pliers, if you ever use these. See how one side is flat and the other side is not flat? So what you want to do is you want to cut the flat so it's nice and flat. And then you want to take and reverse the pliers so they're flat on the other side. Now, I don't want a gap here. I want to overflap these. So what I want to do is have a nice I want this. Okay. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is, see there's a gap there? I'm going to put it so this top one is on the top. That way there's pressure here. And that's what it looks like. And you only need maybe about 1/8 of an inch overlap like that. Alright, so let me show you what I do after that. Alright, so I'm going to put in the show notes what model number this is for Everlast, but this is a nice welder. It allows you to do welding and allows you to do cutting with it too. But what's really nice is it goes down to 5. So for TIG welding copper, you want DC current, you want to use a pedal, you want your pulse off, and you want your TIG on. Your frequency, well, that's for AC current, so you don't have to worry about that. So set these evenly, but I keep these close to 5, 5 being right there, so a little bit below 5. And what this does, it allows your argon gas to flow. So here, I go from 5 to 22, depending on what gauge copper I'm using. This is a thin gauge copper, so I'm going to go down to 5. If you're new to this, stay at 5 forever until you get gutsy. Argon. So you will need an argon tank for this. And the argon is like $70 for a tank to get filled. You can do quite a many rings with $70, trust me. So what I have here is my welding table and piece of sheet metal. Attached to it is a Harbor Freight vise. And in the Harbor Freight vise, I have this ring mandrel. And you can see that overlap. You see it? Cool. You can also see that this ring mandrel has been welded on quite a bit. But since it's stainless steel, really it doesn't hurt it whatsoever. So the TIG welding nozzle that I'm using, I think it's 1/32 or 0.40. That's what it is, 0.40. And a real small nozzle. What's nice about copper is if you are TIG welding on copper and let's say you touch the wire coming out of this to the copper itself, it doesn't contaminate it. So you can literally sharpen this once and you can just keep going on and on. But if you're TIG welding any other metal, it will contaminate that and then you have to go resharpen it again. You can sharpen it on typical grinder. I would use a fine wheel. Alright, so now we're going to TIG weld that. We'll use the power of digital zoom so I don't get the camera next to the TIG welder. This will get bright, I warn you. Definitely going to need a welding helmet. And that was it. Did I mention it works fast? Let's see if I can get the zoom back in on that. So at this point I let it cool down just a little bit. I can't get it to zoom in. But I'm going to let it cool down and then I'll show you what I do in the next step. Alright, so there we go. And you can see so that it is welded. There's no solder here. The copper is as strong in that area as it is in any other area. So the ring becomes strong because of that. What I do is just kind of flatten that area out a little bit. And because the ring needs to be tempered anyway, I'll just lightly smack it. Going all the way around. Because of this, it usually goes up at least 2 sizes. So whatever size I'm making, I have to gauge it to that. Now we have a really super strong ring. You shouldn't be able to bend this with a lot of pressure. So you can take this, put a lot of pressure here, and if it bends, you got to harden it a little bit more. You want a super strong interior ring to electroform on. If you're electroforming over the softened metal, you'll notice the difference in the ring, because the electroforming is kind of weak to begin with sometimes, unless you know how to electroform, and then you put like really thin coats at a time over the top of it, and that'll become stronger. But you want an interior ring that's really hard in order to electroform over the top of that. This has fire scale on it now, so we're going to clean that off. So before I put any kind of electroforming over anything, I soak it in sodium bisulfate. So this is pH minus sodium bisulfate. And what this will do, it'll clean the fire scale off the metal, and any oils or anything like that become gone too. You get yourself a nice stainless steel. I don't know what this thing is called, but you find it in the kitchen area of your grocery stores. I just put the ring in it. Usually I do batches of like 20 at a time, and then I just kind of lower this down in there. That's it. So I have maybe, this is a 2-gallon bucket, I have 1 gallon maybe of water in here, and I use about half of this, and this is 567 grams. You don't get all like OCD though, you know what I mean? Really just dump a bunch of this in here. And what's nice about this is, let's say the water goes down, I just add new water to it, and you can use tap water or you can use distilled water, it does not matter. Alright, So I let it sit in there for about 10, 15 minutes, maybe max, and then we'll take it out and look at it. Alright, here's after just about 5 minutes in the solution. You can see the fire scale starting to melt right off of it. Now, once that gets done, though, I do let it dry for, I rinse it off with water and then let it dry for a little bit. So this next step of the video, I'm just going to kind of skip ahead of this one, and I'm going to show you one that's already been done. So here we go. Alright, so here's the results. We got before the clean, after the clean. So this one has been sitting around for a couple days, but that's okay. Just as long as it doesn't have any fire scale on it, because the fire scale will make it so the electroforming doesn't quite grow all that good. It will grow, but it won't grow all that well. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that video. How to make ring shanks for electroforming. Of course, you can make this for just about any jewelry, but that's my process of using a TIG welder and use some household electrical wire and a little anvil and some fun. Enjoy.